There's a lot of weird statistics out there about marriage and divorce. For instance, I hear it thrown out there a lot of times that 90% of divorces are instituted by women. Not true. And more than half of all marriages in divorce. Well, that's also not true. You may be interested to know that it's really about 4 in 10 marriages that end in divorce. Yep, 40% amalgamated, 35 to 40 depending. Now, it can be higher for different cohorts, but what's most important is that most marriages survive, okay? But what about the big chunk that doesn't? Like, were those marriages doomed from the beginning? Are you in the 40%? How can you know the difference? How can you know whether marriage is worth taking a risk, a roll of the dice on? Well, I've got some help for you in that area. As a divorce attorney, I've seen and heard it all, and I know what leads people down the path. And I will tell you, the number one thing, and I've said this before, is a lack of alignment. It's not knowing who you're marrying, why you're getting married from the beginning. Too many men in particular choose women who are attractive, who are charming, who they think are a good time and want to try to build a life with this person, although in no other area of their life would they enter into a partnership based upon those metrics. And as far as women goes, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but I think it's kind of the same thing. You add those attractive characteristics to, hey, is this guy going to be able to sort of build a life with me? Probably a little more due diligence, but often not much more. And I'm going to suggest to you that marriage is the most important partnership you will ever enter into. And in fact, I mean, if you talk to, let's just say, Alex Hermosi, I don't know if you know him, he's a big business guru, billionaire, he would say very relatably something like he never made more than $3 million in a year until he met, his wife, and now he makes billions every year, something along that lines. But I think his point is very valid. It's the right partner can 10x your success. And anyone who's had marital trouble knows that the wrong partner or being in a wrong partnership or a partnership gone wrong can, tank every single area of your life. What are we to do about this? Well, recently I was at a dinner, actually 2 separate scenarios, and I have guys, come to me, young men, when they're dating, and they're always dating these beautiful, wonderful women, and they still have the question like, how do I know if this is the one? How do I know if I'm getting it right? Or what are the warning signs or red flags that this may not be the one for me? And I go always to business type questions. How are you guys aligned when it comes to finances? What are your visions? Are those, what does she want out of life? What do you want out of life? Have you dated her? Have you gone around her family? Do your friends get together? Do they get along? Do they have nice things to say about her? Does she have nice things to say about them? I'm going to be doing a series actually on the types of women to avoid for those of you who are out there who have sworn women off. And I know lots of men out there who are sort of doing this go your own way deal because of hurt, disillusionment. But guys, we were made for relationship. It's not, it always cracks me up to hear this. The number one reason for divorce is marriage. No, come on now. That's ridiculous. And I'm not going to get into just the whole logical fallacy of that. But although it is true, you're not going to get divorced if you never get married. But it's not the cause. It's the people in the relationships who really, probably most of the time, ones who get divorced should have never got married in the first place. And so as I was talking to these guys, the first one asked me like specifically, how can he make sure that the girl he's dating is the one for him? And I just started kind of going down a checklist. How do you two resolve conflict? How do you two spend your time together? Are you the same type? You have same attachment styles or complementary attachment styles? When you go high, does she go low? What is going on in terms of of the way you enjoy spending your time. And then I said, one of the very best exercises that you can do is to go through the process of building a prenup. Now, there was another guy sitting at the table who had been married a super long time who said, oh, he would never do a prenup. He and his wife had never done a prenup. They were, had always shared everything and were always in agreement. That's super duper. That's really great when people are able to have those conversations on the front end and work through all those details and they end up on the same page. Going through the process of prenuptial agreement, all of the questions that have to be asked in order to put those together is a great litmus test to see whether or not you are aligned. Because if you cannot have hard conversations about money, about kids, about what you have already and how bills are going to be paid, what you're going to share, what you're going to keep separate, if you can't have those conversations on the very front end, then you're probably not aligned. There is this concept called due diligence that businesses will go through whenever they're doing a merger. And if you think about it, you're not just merging yourself with another person, but you're merging your friend group, your family, more importantly, all together. And so too often what I see is, boy meets girl and there's sparks and boom, they're in bed and wow, this is great. We ought to do this always together forever. And the problem is you only spend about, and I'm just going to be real generous here, especially, and I'm not talking about sleeping, but SEX, what is that 2% of your whole life? You can't make decisions based on 2% of your life that affect every other area and ripple out for generations. In this concept of due diligence, what businesses do is they really go in and kind of do a colonoscopy on the other business. I mean, they get way up in there, all up into their business. I mean, into the dark and difficult spots, It requires anesthesia sometimes how deep businesses go. It takes a lot. Before I was a family law attorney, I worked for a business and commercial law firm and had to go out to do due diligence on a merger. And I spent a day just gathering and copying business licenses down. It is extensive. It is exhaustive. And if you're not spending that amount of time, one, getting to know your future potential partner, two, getting to know the 5 people closest to them, their friend group, getting to know the people that they work with and what their opinions are of that person, hearing how they talk about those people, going to restaurants, going to parks. I mean, really getting involved in their life, going to the places they do their hobbies, seeing how they treat others. Yes, spending significant time with their families. And don't blow this off. I know I've been given a lot of rigmarole over, oh, she's still mad about her marriage so many years later, whatever. And I've addressed it once before that it wasn't really about the wedding itself. It was about the family dynamic that was going on. The family dynamic where my husband had not left his mother and father's influence. He had not become, at that time, he of course is now, but at that time, he had not kind of become his own person. He definitely wasn't ready to be in a partnership with me. And we had to deal with years of not because of their fault and really not because of his fault, just because of a readiness issue of dealing with my husband being pulled in a variety of directions, which required give and take on our part. But I'm telling you, that causes real heartburn. You can say, get over it. You can say, be a good forgiver, which I would agree with, be a very good forgiver. And we'll talk about that in another episode coming up here, because I will tell you, other than the alignment piece, I think the key to being in an excellent marriage, to falling into that 60%, is being a good forgiver. But that's it in a nutshell. If you are going to enter into a partnership and it requires you really to die to yourself, this is not 1 + 1 = 2. This is, you are no longer yourself. You are a part of a couple. You can disagree with me all day long about that. Maybe if you are disagreeing, that's why you're in the 40%, or maybe you're doomed to be a part of it. But if you do not become one with your partner, like you create a new entity, entity together. There was Man Inc. and Lady Inc., and now it's Man and Lady Inc., I guess. But if you don't come together and form that new entity and prioritize the new entity and prioritize the other members of that entity, and you don't come in on the front end knowing that not only do you believe that this is necessary and true, but so does your potential partner. And not only that they believe this is necessary and true, but what does that look like? What does that mean? What is the purpose of this new entity? Why are you joining forces? Are you both so into whatever it is you're doing, your unique skills and talents? The two of you make more than you would apart, and you want to expand that, especially by bringing along littles who reflect your unique skills, talents, values, and ability to spread joy in the world. If that's where you're on track to go, then you're going to probably end up in that 60%. But if all you're doing is just trying to get a long-term lease on a good time, you're almost always doomed to fail.